I have something to say, Max announced, tapping his spoon against his glass. My father's birthday lunch fell silent. All eyes turned to my husband, but I already knew. I watched his trembling fingers, his eyes seeking my sister Jade's for a brief moment before looking away. My heart pounded, but I kept my expression calm. Aurora and I are separating. My mother dropped her fork. My aunt frowned, confused. But Max wasn't finished. There's more. He reached across the table and took Jade's hand. We fell in love. 4 years, we tried to ignore it, but love just happens. Silence hung heavy. Everyone expected an explosion, rage, tears, shouting. Instead, I took a deep breath and said calmly, I ask everyone to check their phones now. My name is Aurora Bennett. I'm 29 years old. A cybersecurity analyst. Methodical. Detail-oriented. Patient. My job is to track digital footprints, reconstruct evidence, document behavioral patterns. And that's exactly what I did with Max and Jade. 4 months, I collected messages, calls, meetings. Every lie, every betrayal, meticulously archived. The issue was never just the infidelity. It was the performance, the manipulation to make their betrayal seem inevitable, as if they had no choice. Max frowned. What messages? I remained calm. I sent them before lunch. Everyone should have received them. Julian, my cousin, was the first to open his phone. His eyes widened. My mother covered her mouth. Jade scrolled through her screen, her fingers trembling, the color draining from her face. She whispered, What did you do? Max hesitated before checking his own phone. He knew. He knew that from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same. I crossed my arms, watching them. I simply presented some facts. The disapproving looks around the table weren't directed at me. They were for them. But what Max and Jade didn't understand yet was that this was only the beginning. What I had uncovered went far beyond what anyone here could imagine. As the tension thickened, my mind drifted back to the beginning. 10 years ago, when I met Max. When I thought we were building a life together. When, for a moment, I believed I was safe. And then, there was Jade. My younger sister, always restless, always searching for something. After yet another failed attempt at settling down, she came back home, lost. And I, thinking I was doing the right thing, suggested she stay with us until she got back on her feet. I opened the doors of my home. My routine. My trust. Are you sure about this? Max hesitated. It might disrupt our routine. She's my sister. Family helps. What was supposed to be a temporary stay stretched on. 6 months, then a year. Jade got a job, but said rent was too expensive. I didn't mind. Her presence brought new energy into the house. But looking back, I see the signs I ignored. Max started working late more often. Jade went out without explanation. The two of them had inside jokes. The tension in the air whenever I walked into the room. My mother noticed before I did. You two get along really well, huh? She remarked, watching Max help Jade change a light bulb. Of course, why wouldn't they? I replied, thinking nothing of it. She shrugged. Not every man gets along so well with his sister-in-law. You're lucky. And I really thought I was. Mary, my friend, tried to warn me. You trust too much, she said after seeing Jade call Max for the 3rd time while we were at a cafe. I wouldn't let my sister get so comfortable with my husband. I laughed. She just needs support. Besides, it's Max. The truth came out by accident. 6 months ago, I used Max's laptop to order food. The last session restored automatically. His email inbox was open. I wasn't looking for anything. But there they were. Last night was amazing, Jade had written. I can't stop thinking about you. We need to be more careful, Max replied. I don't want to hurt Aurora. I read everything with an eerie detachment. as if I were analyzing evidence from a case, rather than witnessing the collapse of my life. A full year of lies and betrayal, right under my nose. I closed the laptop, unable to finish placing the dinner order. When Max came home, I watched him in silence, searching for any sign in the man who hugged me and asked about my day. But he seemed exactly the same. "Is everything okay?" he asked. "Just a long day at work." My voice sounded strange even to me. But he didn't notice. He kept acting normal, perfectly comfortable in our home, as if he wasn't hiding anything. In the days that followed, I drifted between an eerie numbness and sharp, unbearable pain. At night, I woke up breathless, reliving every detail. During the day, my life ran on autopilot. Work, dinner, empty conversations that now felt rehearsed. I've noticed how close you two have been. I didn't confront them immediately. I wanted to believe there was some explanation. Maybe those messages were just empty words. Maybe Max was being manipulated. Maybe I had misunderstood everything. But old habits die hard. My analytical instincts took over. I started keeping records. I noted the nights Max claimed to be at work, but his location showed otherwise. I observed their casual meetings, too frequent to be coincidences. I compared credit card statements with hotel reservations. And then, I had no doubts left. The evidence piled up, along with the cruel certainty. They weren't just together, they were careless. As if they believed I would never find out. Or worse, as if they didn't care. 2 weeks later, there I was, sitting in my car, watching Max and Jade walk into an expensive hotel downtown. Laughing. His hand resting on her back with intimacy. Without thinking, I took pictures. More pieces for my dossier. That night, Max came home late. "It was a rough night," he sighed as I served the reheated dinner. "I can imagine." My gaze fell on his shirt collar. Lipstick stain. The same shade as Jade's. He reached for my hand across the table. I froze for a second. The touch that once brought me comfort now felt like a lie. The man I loved was a stranger. And the same applied to my sister. I gently pulled my hand away. "You should get some rest." He smiled, noticing nothing. That night, as Max slept beside me, I made my decision. I wouldn't confront them yet. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing my pain or anger. I would keep gathering evidence, building my case. For the next few months, I lived a double life. By day, I was Aurora Bennett, the devoted wife, the caring sister. I attended family gatherings, kept the house running, maintained the routines of marriage with surgical precision. By night, I became a detective in my own life. I documented every detail, every deception, every well-rehearsed lie. I discovered a system between them, a shared calendar with coded messages marking their meetings, a joint credit card, even future plans, trips, a house they planned to buy once they sorted out my situation. After 3 months of gathering proof, I chose the right moment for the first confrontation. Max was tired, a glass of wine in hand. "We need to talk about Jade," I mentioned, keeping my voice neutral. Max's body tensed immediately. "What do you mean?" He let out a dry, rehearsed laugh. "Oh, Aurora, she's your sister. Of course we're close." "Not like that." I held his gaze. "Is there something you want to tell me?" For a brief second, I saw something in his eyes, guilt, maybe. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't like your tone." His voice turned cold. "Jade is family. If you're feeling insecure, that's something you need to work on yourself." The ease with which he painted me as paranoid was astonishing. For a moment, I almost doubted myself. Almost. I decided to be more direct. I left browser tabs open with hotel booking confirmations and placed my timeline of evidence where he could accidentally find it. But Max always had ready explanations. Or he simply ignored them. Meanwhile, Jade launched her own offensive. She started calling me more, insisting on sister outings, with forced enthusiasm. At social events, she introduced me to single men, always with a calculated smile. Aurora, you work too much. I think you should go out more. Max and I agree on that. The cruelty of it was unbelievable. She was encouraging me to look at other men while sleeping with my husband. But the most painful blow came from my mother. Jade is helping Max plan something special for your birthday, she mentioned, unaware of the impact of her words. They've been working on it for months, but they won't tell me many details. My birthday was still 4 months away. They were using it as an excuse for their meetings. Even my mother was part of the facade. I decided it was time for the final confrontation. That night, I laid out all the evidence: hotel receipts, screenshots of messages clearly visible on the kitchen counter. I waited in the living room, my heart pounding. Max arrived late. When he saw the papers, his expression turned serious. He sat on the couch and said, "We need to talk." A strange relief washed over me. Finally, the moment of truth. "Yes, we do," I replied. But then, he placed a folder on the table. I found something disturbing. I picked up the folder, expecting to see the evidence I had left for him. But when I opened it, I found something different. Printed emails between me and a coworker, edited to make them look romantic. "I know about Dayton," Max said, his voice filled with rehearsed pain. "How long has this been going on?" For a second, the scene was so absurd that I almost laughed. He had forged evidence against me to divert attention from his own betrayal. I took a deep breath and met his gaze. "Nothing is going on between me and Dayton. The messages are strictly about work." Max crossed his arms, pretending to be disappointed. "You know, to me, they seem a lot more intimate than they should be." I saw the path Max was taking, each word carefully chosen, each accusation crafted to justify his own infidelity. "I think we need some time apart," he said, taking my hand with a practiced look of concern. "This isn't healthy for either of us." At that moment, I understood the truth. A direct confrontation would never work. Max and Jade had already invested too much in their version of reality. No matter what I said, they would twist everything. "Maybe some time apart is for the best," I replied, watching relief soften his features. He hadn't expected me to give in so easily. "I'm glad you understand," he said, squeezing my hand. "This isn't about blame. Sometimes people just grow apart." Max's performance of sympathy was almost admirable. I wondered how many times he had rehearsed this conversation with Jade. "I'll be staying at Jade's place while we figure things out," he added casually. She offered the guest room when I told her about the situation. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. But mentally, I had already moved on to the next phase of my investigation. The following week, while Max moved his things into Jade's apartment, I took a day off. Instead of going to work, I sought out a private investigator recommended by a colleague. "I'm not looking to hire you," I explained, spreading my evidence across the desk. "I need a professional assessment of what I've already gathered, and advice on what else I might need." Mason Prescott, an expert in infidelity cases, examined the evidence and, with restrained surprise, commented, "Most people come to me with suspicions. You brought me an entire case. It's what I do for a living. I just never expected to have to do it in my own life," I replied humorlessly. Mason confirmed what I already suspected. My evidence was solid but needed more. He suggested I look into financial records to expose any suspicious transactions and, most importantly, gather proof of Max and Jade's deliberate intent to deceive me. "Intent is powerful in a divorce case," he explained. "If you can prove they consciously manipulated you and others, your position will be much stronger." I left Mason's office with a to-do list. Over the next few months, I followed every lead and discovered that the lies ran deeper than I had imagined. Max had been siphoning money from our joint account for almost a year to fund his double life. Jade used my credit card whenever she borrowed it for emergencies. The cruelest revelation came from Max's cloud storage. There, I found conversations between him and Jade that made me feel like I was reading the correspondence of two cold, calculating strangers. Max had written, "She's so obsessed with work she doesn't suspect a thing." Then added, "We could probably fuck on the kitchen counter, and she wouldn't even notice. Too busy." Jade responded, "She'll thank us for making this decision for her. She never really knew how to be a wife anyway." Reading those messages was devastating. It wasn't just betrayal. It was manipulation, cruelty. Divorce was inevitable, but it would happen on my terms. I consulted Victoria Frost, a divorce attorney, and handed her all the evidence I had gathered. Victoria was impressed. "This is extraordinary," she said. "You've brought concrete proof." But there was a problem. California is a no-fault state. Courts don't punish infidelity itself. I wanted more than just a favorable settlement. I want the truth exposed. I want their narrative destroyed. Victoria warned me, "The court of public opinion can be crueler than any legal ruling. If that's your goal, choose carefully how and when to reveal your evidence." Her words shaped my plan. That same day, I received a message from my mother. "Family dinner on Sunday. Max and Jade confirmed. Please come. Don't make this awkward." The perfect opportunity. They believed they could control the narrative of my failed marriage and their love. But I had other plans. I spent the next few days preparing my revelation. For my father, evidence that Max had been borrowing money while siphoning funds. For my mother, proof that Jade had been manipulating her. For my family, the lies they had told each of us. And for myself, a master document timelines, screenshots, receipts. On Sunday morning, I woke up calm. I chose my outfit with precision. Jade sent me a message. "Just checking if you're coming today. Dad will be so sad if you don't show up. We're all family after all." I almost laughed at her audacity. I arrived on time, bringing a homemade cake and a gift for my father. Max and Jade were there, laughing together. They thought they controlled the narrative. Dinner went on in an uncomfortably normal way. When dessert was served, Max raised his glass to speak. A familiar gesture, used in so many important moments of our relationship. And then, a technical issue. My emails, with all the evidence, failed to send. Without them, I would just be the betrayed wife, caught off guard, exactly as they had planned. My heart pounded, but then I remembered, I had my laptop. Calmly, I opened my email account. When Max finished speaking and all eyes turned to me, I pressed send. "Please," I said into the tense silence. "Everyone, check your emails now." Phones vibrated around the table. Expressions shifted from surprise to shock. "Just some information I thought everyone should know," I stated firmly. My father was the first to react, his face hardening as he read. "My God." My cousin Julian murmured. My mother, her hands trembling, looked at Jade, who had gone pale. The truth, finally exposed. My mother looked between Jade and me, horrified. "What is this?" Max demanded, grabbing a phone. "The truth," I answered calmly. "Everything I discovered over the last 6 months. Hotel receipts, messages, financial records. Everything." Jade snatched the phone, pale. "These are private conversations. You had no right to go through them." "Actually, they were conversations about me," I corrected. "I especially liked the part where you debated whether to tell me before or after New Year's and decided that ruining my party would be unnecessary cruelty." Max flipped through the evidence, his narrative crumbling. "This is an invasion of privacy," he stammered. "Actually, it's not," I explained. "We shared many of these accounts, and you frequently left your devices unlocked." Silence weighed over the room. I continued, "You wanted to make this public today, didn't you? Create your version of the story. The poor lovers who fell for each other against all odds. But I have a story to tell too. My mother, horrified, turned to Jade. How could you do this to your own sister? Max tried to regain control. Clearly, this is just Aurora's way of processing the situation. She created this elaborate narrative to cope with the pain of transition. My father stepped in, cold and sharp. Enough, Max. My daughter doesn't fabricate evidence. That's literally her job. Jade started crying. I never wanted to hurt anyone. It just happened. Julian held up his phone. These messages show you two planned this for over a year. This didn't just happen. The atmosphere grew heavier. Aunt Isabella tried to console my mother while Uncle Henry questioned Max about the financial discrepancies. I stood up. I'm leaving. Sorry for ruining your birthday dinner, Dad. He hugged me. I'm coming with you. Before we left, he asked, why didn't you tell us sooner? I needed to understand everything first. And I needed everyone else to understand too, not just believe me. The next morning, I filed for divorce. No argument from Max or Jade could salvage their image. 4 months later, as I signed the final documents, my lawyer asked, are you satisfied with the outcome? It's not satisfaction, I replied. It's clarity. That night, I moved into my new apartment with an ocean view. As the sun set, I deleted the investigation files. Tomorrow, I would finally start a new chapter. And this time, the story would be written by me.